Hey, you guys, welcome back to True Crime Stories. Had to think about what podcast I was on. True Crime Stories. In today's podcast, we are going to be talking about Sherri Papini. I think I'm pronouncing her name Papini. But okay, Sherri Papini. Okay, her story was wild to me. Like, I am in shock. So I'm going to go here and read this. So she was supposedly disappeared in November 2nd, 2016, while jogging home a mile from her home. So, and she was 34 at the time. So there was so many things that was going on. Like, there was a fund they had to bring her home safely. There was organizations that was looking for her. There was, time spent looking for this woman. And the whole entire time, guess where she was? She was with an ex-boyfriend. She was with her ex-boyfriend chilling. The whole time. She's married with kids and she was chilling with her ex-boyfriend. So let me read. Because it says it on here. Let me see. Yeah, there was reportedly she was abducted. She harmed herself to make it look like she was hurt. So I mean, it's not funny, but it is funny. Like, wow. So she fabricated the story of her abduction. She had reportedly been staying with her former boyfriend, James Reyes, during the time she was supposed to be missing, and had harmed herself in order to give like credits to her lies, like to make it seem like she really was harmed and all this other stuff. So she ended up having to be on trial, and her trial was $120,000 bond. And she had to surrender her passport, and she was mail fraud. She was sentenced to 18 months in prison and fined $300,000. Like, all because she wanted to spend time with an ex-boyfriend. If that was the case, she should have just broke things off with her husband, had joint custody of her kids, and went to go be with her ex-boyfriend. Like, why the games? Why the mind games? But anyway, so I wanted to show you all this video of her in court. I mean, of her being interrogated, because it's funny. And, and she was in court. I mean, not in court, interrogated with her husband there.
Is Monday Dev.
Oh my God.
A platform to manage your entire product development lifecycle.
Incredibly long road.
Okay, here it is.
But some stuff's come up. So we've always had the DNA out there in the world.
Sorry, Tom, before we get too far, obviously, just like always, thank you for coming. We appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us.
Yeah.
As always, your presence here is voluntary.
Yeah.
You can go at any time, and all we want is truthful statements, because it's a crime to lie to federal officers.
Wow, yeah, that's good.
Understood?
Yeah.
Sorry, forget about that part. So there's always been DNA out there, and we've done testing after testing. We've gone out to like the Parabon, which is a private company who does all like the genetics, and we've just hit wall after wall after wall. But recently, we found a familial DNA hit. So what that does, it just tells us it came from a certain person. So like the mother or the father or a son or an uncle or however that is, it just hits that, like somewhere in this family tree is where the DNA comes from.
Okay.
So with that, we open up the investigation. We go into who could it be within the family. So once we started opening up those doors and looking through the family members and just trying to see Facebook stalking them, criminal histories, just that normal investigation that we do once we start looking into things, we started finding some interesting things.
Okay.
So one of the things that came out to us, is there anything in there that looks
Of interest or notable?
interest or?
And that's an awkward photo, but
Yeah.
no.
So the table, the picture's a little grained out. So
There's, I mean, to me, I see a table there that somewhat looks like something you described to me in the past, and then I see wood paneling,
Hmm.
talking about the room.
Yeah, we noted both of those things back in August
Yeah.
of 2017. Is when we spoke with you about, and you showed us this picture of the
Mhm.
table.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that, Sherri?
Yes, I do.
And
remember
so,
something like that.
When we were trolling through this, Facebook page, we saw just the edge of that table.
Yeah.
Denise got it, in
Yeah.
fact.
Oh, cool.
Denise said, "Hey,
I can't
Peter,
remember.
look at this table." And I was like, "Oh, wait, you're right."
Yeah.
And it has the wood paneling.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, well, where was that photo taken, right? And so we're trying to figure that out.
So,
Oh, okay.
so that's led us obviously now to obviously this Facebook page has a person. It's got like people tagged into it, so it has, so Peter has a,
But that's still a valid memory, right? Is that this was the table,
Yeah,
a table like this was the table you were on when you were branded?
and we've been talking about that a lot because so many memories are so faded now.
It's been a long time.
It's been a really long time. So like details and things like that, we did the best that we could to take notes on it and all of that, but a lot of it's really hard.
Sure.
It's hard to think about.
so
Yeah, no, I see both those from what she told me. So.
Okay. So that was of interest. With that, we started looking at different people and who might be involved and just trying to figure it out. And I wanted to show you this picture. And obviously, people can change their weight, people can change the color of their hair. Don't, just because the photo might be a little bit different, as you know, women like to change their hair and their makeup, their weight can change, so that might be a little bit different. But we wanted to take a look at this six pack and see if you recognize anybody, see these 6 photos. You don't feel like you have to provide an answer. There's no right or wrong answer. Just let us know if you see anybody in this photo that you do recognize, and if you do, we'll talk about how. Okay. Keith, if you could just wait not to say anything until that way we don't influence.
That's right.
I think I'm losing my mind.
I don't think so.
She's trying to like
So nobody jumps out.
make it look like she didn't do nothing. I
A
don't
little
know.
bit,
I don't
but
know.
Can you say this one a little bit? Which number is it?
number 3.
And when you're ready, I'll show you.
Nothing's really like,
There's nothing in there that says, "Oh yeah, that's her."
no.
Well, this interrogation goes on for about an hour, so we're not going to watch the whole interrogation. But what I do want to skip to is the part to where she says, "Oh, I think we may need a lawyer." No shit.
Were you able to find like where that house is?
yes.
For the board.
No.
His family then told us specific things. So if we can talk with Keith or without Keith here, what would you like? It brought so many people in from the woodwork that if we didn't have the woodwork, we wouldn't have the noise.
And that brings a lot of pressure when you get that kind of scrutiny.
So we'd like to talk to you more about those things, and we can do it with Keith here, or we can ask Keith to leave. It's whatever you're comfortable with, so we can break down some of the problems. If you want Keith here, all we want is to have the truth. All we want is to be able to tell the truth. That's all we've ever wanted from day one. We talked with you for hours. We've been there. We've done all these different things, waiting for something, waiting for it to break, waiting for us to lead something to here. Because the DNA came back, like I said, to a specific person. That specific person told us very specific things. His family then told us specific things. So if we can talk with Keith or without Keith here, what would you like? It's completely up to you. And like I've always said, I wanted you to have a voice. I wanted you to make decisions. I wanted you to control certain aspects. I think I told you that on the first interview we ever had. I never want to bully you. I never want you to believe I'm bullying you. I want you to take back control. That's one of those things. This is that take back control of the interview, which I promised you to do the first time we talked, if you remember that. Actually, we were in Mount Shasta, so the second time we talked.
It's been a long road, Sherri, but we just want to talk to you. We can have Keith step out. That's going to make you more comfortable.
It's up to you.
Do you want to step out or do you want to stay?
Obviously, I want to stay.
Or we could do a little bit of both. Talk to you alone first, and then have him come back in.
And it's completely up to you. And that's why I'm not even looking at Keith. I don't care about your opinion, Keith. What we want out of this is the truth. So we can get ahead of some things, so we can help control things, how crazy things got. So the unknown of if I say certain things, what's Keith's reaction? Because you don't know what I'm going to say, right? So I don't know Keith's reaction either. So if I say other things like, oh, Keith won't worry about that, he can come back in. But I'd rather give you the opportunity to hear things, be able to judge it, because at everything, right, I'm saying things to you that are making you nervous. It's making Keith nervous. It's changing the element, right? We changed the tone of the interview.
You can feel it already in the room from the way you walked into what you're feeling right now.
So,
Well, I mean, law enforcement has always been an issue, so.
Okay.
So if you want Keith to leave, I'll ask Keith nicely to leave. If you don't want Keith to leave, then he can sit here and
Let's press on. We'll press on.
and we'll move on to the next stages. But I want to give you that opportunity first. But obviously everything's fearful. If you tell him to leave and what I'm going to say is benign, then we can pull him back in the room. Like, hey, Keith, come back in. This is what we.
They already fucking know.
So that fear of him wigging out. Why is she trying to hide something from me? There is none. If you can help me.
Yeah, there's no trick here. We're just trying to make sure that
Yeah,
you're comfortable to talk, because you can't be to talk to us, truthfully.
they're asking you, they're not asking me. Obviously, I would want to be here and whatever needs to come out.
And you can change your mind in the future too, if you
But no
want to
matter
change
what,
it.
it's gonna get out, so.
Like I said in the beginning, you're free to go. So if you wanted to chat with them privately, that's fine too, but we want to talk to you.
And we can leave the room, give you guys the room for a couple minutes. This next stage of things could be benign, could be like, we forgot to tell you this, or, oh yeah, all of these things make sense now. I could tell you the puzzle that makes it all come together, or I can tell the puzzle that crashes everything apart. I don't know what that piece is, honestly. All I know is facts. All I know is certain specific items that will
So
either
the whole
tear
time
castle
they
down
know.
or gonna build the castle up. And I don't want to.
Are you sick of having issues with your
The whole
webinars?
time they know that she did stuff, like that she's a liar.
Everybody's invested in this picture. Keith do the drawings. Keith's the one who gave this stuff. So Keith has always been a part of your memory for small details. And that's why Keith's been in here this whole time. And that's why.
He makes me feel safe anyway.
Well, if
Absolutely.
he makes you feel safe too, we can continue on.
Go
Either you can
Can I
change your mind.
talk to him?
Absolutely. And again, I just don't know what the pieces are. So if I would say, hey, this is gonna bring the whole world down, I'd tell you, this is gonna bring the whole world down. And then we need to talk alone. Or I would suggest we talk alone. But that's completely up to you guys, because I don't know.
I just want to talk.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
You need to stop what you're doing and tell me the truth. I don't want anything to happen.
Looking at talking right now. I am fucking with you.
So, moral of the story, she manipulated everybody and she manipulated her husband, and she's just a manipulator.
911, what is your case? I just got home from work and my wife wasn't there, which is unusual.
You had this beautiful blonde mom of two who all of a sudden had vanished.
She is considered at risk due to the suspicious circumstances.
I knew something was wrong. My first thing was somebody took her.
And that begins the search for Sherri Papini.
Police were pretty shocked to find that Sherri had been branded on the upper right portion of her back.
There is a massive break in the case.
And now it all comes crumbling down.
Tonight, the twisted tale of Sherri Papini and the disappearance that engrossed the country.
From everyone we talked to, Sherri, who was a stay-at-home mom, cherished her family life, doting on their 4-year-old son, Tyler, and their 2-year-old daughter, Violet. Take me back to that day.
I went to work and I didn't get home until around 5 o'clock. I looked in a few different rooms and I couldn't find anybody. Then I called our daycare type place. First thing I said is, what time did Sherri pick up the kids today? And when she said the kids are here, that was like, something is wrong.
Ms. Papini has been entered into a national computer for missing persons. She is considered at risk.
There's so much about the abduction that just doesn't add up. And so with so very little to go on, investigators can only do one thing at this point, and that's focus their attention on Keith Papini.
Local officials are saying her husband's polygraph test indicates that he had no involvement with her disappearance, adding that they were also able to confirm his whereabouts the day she went missing.
For 22 days, the police searched for Sherri when in the pre-dawn hours of Thanksgiving morning, 150 miles south of Reading, a driver spots a woman in distress on the side of the highway.
911 emergency, what are you reporting?
Hi, I have an emergency. There's a lady on the side of the road needing help. She's chained up, her vision's blurry, and she needs an ambulance.
Do you see her chained up?
Yes, her name is Sherri Papini.
Sherri is taken to the hospital where her clothing gets processed and sent out for DNA testing.
Looking at her injuries at the hospital, I was shocked by them. For it to be all over her face, her arms, her legs, and her chest and her back was just alarming.
Sherri told investigators that her kidnappers told her that she was going to be sold to someone as part of a sex trafficking ring.
She tells detectives she was kidnapped and physically abused by 2 Hispanic women.
I think she may have teased me. I don't remember. The next thing I remember is all my clothes were gone.
Police were pretty shocked to find that Sherri had been branded on the upper right portion of her back.
And they said I was branded. And that's what they said. That's what she likes. It hurts so bad.
Sherri Papini has endured 3 weeks of beating and abuse and torment. Then after all that, the kidnappers let her go. Sherri says she has no idea why they suddenly decided to release her.
Once she returned home, we went from worrying about finding a lady to now finding her abductors.
In this just released video, you see detectives from the Shasta County Sheriff's Office interviewing Sherri at her home.
She was in a ball, in a cocoon essentially, with her knees up to her chest.
There was boards on the windows.
Sherri tells investigators that she was chained to a very specific kind of pole in the closet.
There was a chain around my waist.
Do you know what you were affixed to? Was it a tether? Was it like a rope?
A metal cable.
Was the cable affixed to the wall and like the cable was loose?
The cable was affixed to a pole that went up into the ceiling.
The sheriff held a news conference today describing Sherri Papini as courageous and revealing details about her 3-week ordeal.
Suspect number 1 had long, curly hair. She had a thick accent. Suspect number 2 had straight black hair with some graying color.
But there are others who thought that certain details of Sherri's story weren't actually consistent with sex trafficking.
In the months following her return, Sherri says she continues to suffer from trauma. She gets professional help from the government.
From a government program that gives financial aid to victims of crime. And it paid thousands of dollars for therapy to treat the anxiety and PTSD that Sherri claimed she suffered from that kidnapping.
And the whole time she's scamming people.
This morning, the FBI released these new suspect sketches.
And it shows 2 Hispanic women, but with their faces covered up.
Around the same time, investigators also get back results from the crime lab that's been examining Sherri's clothing. And there's a DNA hit, exactly what they were hoping for, but the results are confusing.
The DNA was of a male, and it would be somewhat incongruent with the allegations that she made that she was abducted by 2 Hispanic women.
The next step was to enter that DNA profile into the law enforcement database to see if this unknown guy is in the system.
And we get a return that nothing matched with it. And so now we're back to the drawing board.
I assume you're also looking into Sherri's background.
There's some little bit of red flags there.
Investigators talked to her first husband because Sherri had been married before. According to the police, he said, yeah, but she was a real liar. She made up a lot of stories.
Police say many friends and relatives were less than supportive.
And then you had the other half that say she's super mom, she would never leave.
There was some infidelity issues in her background that even Keith had told us about.
Issues with infidelity, issues with lying, and a history of running away.
Yep.
I was telling my staff, unless we have some very strong evidence to disprove her
He
allegations,
just married a manipulative
with
woman.
the investigation.
That's a problem with society. They don't give.
As the years went on, it
people a
went
chance to
maybe
be
from
themselves.
frustration that they couldn't find the 2 alleged abductors to more curiosity. Whatever happened with Sherri Papini's case?
Investigators asked permission of the courts to be able to run that DNA against all those DNA ancestry type websites.
They're hoping somebody in this guy's family had used one of those DNA websites. If they find a relative, they've got a lead. And it worked.
This man has 2 sons. One of those sons used to date Sherri Papini.
It came back to James Reyes, an ex-boyfriend.
And you see James Reyes in a photo with Sherri from one of her social media posts.
It's a massive break in the case.
So the FBI field officer and myself went down to James's residence to do the confrontation.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. We're here regarding Sherri Papini. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out how you know her. When was the last time you talked to her?
Well, me and Sherri dated back in 2002, and I haven't talked to her in years.
There's information that I think you have about the abduction.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I can do. All I know is what I read about it.
And it's not until 53 minutes into this interview that they get Reyes to finally come clean.
I didn't kidnap her. I just, friend in need asked me for help, and that was that.
What did she say?
She was trying to get away from her husband. Like, your husband beats you, your husband raped you. I don't know what her deal was.
She made up stories. Keith was abusing her. She needed to get out of that relationship.
The ex-boyfriend's version of what happened is radically different.
But you're saying absolutely. It was just you and her in the car. There were no females involved.
I don't know any
There's
Mexican
nothing.
girls. I mean, there's no way, man.
He was duped by her, but he went along with it.
I didn't know what the final plan was. Like, were we going to end up together? Was that her plan?
But it's fair to say you were hoping maybe you could get together with her.
No, I wasn't there yet.
She instructed James to get a rental car, leave his cell phone at his house, and drive the 9 hours or so to get to Redding, California to pick her up.
He gets her down to his apartment, gives Sherri the bedroom, and he sleeps on the couch.
Sherri told the world that she had sat there, locked up, chained, miserable, abused. But Reyes says the truth was that she voluntarily spent time alone reading the news about her own disappearance.
She starts to act erratically, according to him. She starts losing a lot of weight. She'd cut off her hair.
But then things get far more twisted. Remember all those terrible injuries covering Sherri's body?
How did all that stuff come
I mean,
about?
she did it while she was here. I mean, she just hit herself with something, created a bruise or something.
She's bleeding, bruised, burned, and scarred. Then she says to him, I need you to brand my back.
I'm like, oh, this is probably gonna hurt. I mean, I've never done this. And then she was like, I'm ready to go back to the kids. And she started missing her babies. And I'm like, of course. She's just like, I'm ready to go. And I'm just like, Thanksgiving Day, I'm just like, seriously?
Then before
So-
dawn on that now infamous Thanksgiving.
Let me pause it because I know people hate it when I talk over the thing. But have y'all seen the movie Gone Girl? If you haven't, I'm sorry to spoil it for you, but this is exactly what happens in Gone Girl. She catches her husband cheating on her. She goes missing, and she does all this stuff to herself, and then she misses him, or she doesn't miss him. He basically plays her to where she comes back. And this is the exact same story versus, like, the only thing that didn't happen was the beating herself. But she did do something graphic to herself. But the branding and stuff, like, that didn't happen in the movie. But the whole watching your articles online, like watching like yourself being kidnapped online, that's exactly what happened in that movie. And why would she do that? What is going on in this woman's head?
Morning, James Reyes says he dropped Sherri off in a remote area.
When we come back, the authorities close in on Sherri Papini and what she says when confronted by detectives.
I didn't do anything wrong.
We didn't get to that part on the interrogation part. I really wanted to get to that part, but I wanted to hear the husband's thought on this.
Step into Wix Studio, the platform.
So I found it, but I wanted to hear his intake on it because he seems like a really good guy
who stood by her.
And that's messed up that she did him like that. Like, he seems like a really great guy, and you just gonna mess his whole world up.
Her side for years, filing for divorce after the mother of two admitted to faking her 2016 kidnapping and hiding out with a former boyfriend. Kaylee Hartung is in Los Angeles with more for us. Good morning, Kaylee.
Good morning, Robin. As Sherri Papini's elaborate web of lies unraveled, so is her marriage. Her husband, Keith, writing in this divorce filing that he and their two children are traumatized, and they need time to recover and stabilize after finally learning the truth. Just days after confessing to faking her own kidnapping, Sherri Papini's marriage is over. Keith Papini filing for divorce from his wife of more than 12 years, requesting sole custody of the couple's two young children. In court documents obtained by ABC News, Keith writing, "I must act decisively to protect my children from the trauma caused by their mother."
Sherri's fraud, her fraudulent kidnapping, and then her cover-up efforts, and all of the lies that she told to federal, state, and local authorities can be used against her in the custody case. Not only that, but she's going to be going to prison for at least 14 months.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to let you all know this woman is no longer in prison.
And so the court has to consider all of those things when it makes a custody order.
Keith also asking the court to free him from any obligations to provide Sherri financial support. The papers filed 2 days after Sherri pled guilty to 2 felony charges, lying to federal agents and mail fraud, admitting her 2016 abduction was a hoax.
I'm going to do everything I can to find my wife.
Keith speaking exclusively to ABC News just days after Sherri reappeared, describing the moment he learned she'd been found.
Then I get the phone and, oh my God, honey. And of course she's screaming. It's very emotional. And I love you. I love you. I love you. Oh my God, you're here. You're back. Where are you?
Keith shaken by the injuries Sherri said were inflicted on her by 2 Hispanic women who she claimed abducted her at gunpoint.
They branded her. And her poor face. I got like nauseated just looking at her. It was so hard for me to see her like that. And bruises were just intense. The bumps from, being hit and kicked and whatever else.
Keith publicly stood by his wife as she lied through a 5.5-year investigation into her disappearance. The divorce filing lists the day of Sherri's arrest last month as their date of separation, noting she hasn't even seen their children in 3 weeks. As she entered her guilty plea, facing up to 25 years in prison and hundreds of thousands of dollars in restitution fees, Sherri saying in a statement, "I am deeply ashamed of myself for my behavior and so very sorry for the pain I've caused." The judge has granted temporary emergency orders giving Keith full custody and allowing Sherri to call or video conference the kids. Now, both are expected to be in court in 2 weeks for a divorce hearing, but Keith asked in that filing that a judge hold any decision on their permanent parenting arrangement until after her federal sentencing, which is set for July. Guys.
We'll see if that happens, Kaylee. Thank you. Well, hey there, GMA fans.
Yikes.
Robin Roberts here.
Whew. Whew, whew, whew. Let's see. Here's another one I found.
Oh.
So it says Sherri's back in court facing off with
Because
her
up until
estranged
very
husband.
Latest on Sherri Papini, the California mom who faked being kidnapped in 2016, was released from prison earlier this year after serving time for lying to police. And now she's back in court facing off with her estranged husband. Eva Pilgrim here with the story. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, George. The once married mother of 2, now divorced. Sherri Papini finding herself before a judge again, even taking the witness stand, this time fighting with her now ex-husband over money.
This morning, new exclusive images of Sherri Papini back in court. The California mom who lied to authorities about being kidnapped and tortured, now appearing before a judge as part of her divorce proceedings. At time, visually emotional.
I'm going to do everything I can to find my wife.
Keith Papini, who searched for and then stood by his wife when she returned home, filing for a divorce after the hoax was revealed. A judge ending their 13-year marriage.
Obviously, you've heard the questions, so you've seen some of the photos.
From my side, but now you're telling me, okay, you guys can go home now. Well, do you think I want her anywhere around my kids or around me at all at this point?
Now, the couple in a heated fight over finances, including insurance money paid to the couple for home repairs when married. Sherri asking for her share of it, but Keith says that money is gone, in part to living expenses, like $500 a day to his mother while they lived with her. Sherri seen crying next to her attorneys, claiming she knew nothing about the payments and that Keith's control over their finances left her nothing in their divorce. But on the stand, Sherri repeatedly invoked the Fifth Amendment when asked about her own finances and how she paid her part of family expenses after she claimed she was kidnapped.
The fact that she's been prosecuted in federal court doesn't prevent her from being prosecuted in state court. I'm assuming that her lawyer is trying to protect her from any new charges, maybe stemming and related to her prior actions, but it could be related to any new potential accusations and charges regarding their finances.
Papini was released from federal prison in August after spending 18 months behind bars for faking her own kidnapping. In November of 2016, Sherri Papini vanished for 22 days, turning up on Thanksgiving morning on a highway nearly 150 miles from home. Papini telling authorities she'd been kidnapped by 2 Hispanic women, but nearly 4 years later, police discovering it was all a lie. Investigators say Papini planned her disappearance for months and spent the entire time she was missing at her ex-boyfriend's home.
And the Papinis have 2 kids together, a judge previously awarding Keith temporary custody. Guys.
We remember this case oh so well, Eva. Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone.
That's bull. Like, so you think you're owed money after all that he's done? Like, and then you're gonna say he was controlling and he controlled the money? Like, that's a good comment. She wants her share of the finances, yet pleads the Fifth Amendment while on the stand for her own finances. Like, that's comical. Like, I don't know. This woman is so messed up. I hope the next person that gets with her, no, she does not need to be with anyone because she's manipulative. And I'm pretty sure that she can manipulate someone into being with her. Anyway, that's the story of Sherri Papini, whatever her name is. So, what do you all think? What is your thoughts on this? I feel like she's wacko. But hope to see you next time for the next true crime stories, and have a great day. Thanks for sharing and following, and see you next time.